Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of Let's Play Football Manager. Return to Liverpool, and this is the February review for the 2027-2028 season. First, I'd just like to quickly apologise for the lack of videos. I've slightly come down with some man flu over the last few days. I think it was a combination of that and my dust allergies popping up again. I have now managed to contain them. So yeah, I wasn't particularly in the very best of moods to do a commentary, and also I don't think you want to hear me sniffling my way through a 20-30 minute commentary. It's not the best of sound. So yeah, just a point on that. So the Celtic videos will be returning. The Southport save is of course continuing. I want to point that out. It's just a part-time save, that one. I'm going to play that one when I feel like it, and you expect videos on that maybe once a month. That's all I'm going to say. Just literally just once a month, because I really don't find lower league teams to I don't really find them that entertaining to play, to be honest. That's why I never really do them, but I'll make an exception with that one, because I got into quite got into that one, and it will be continuing it soon. But obviously, managing 3 saves is quite difficult, as you can imagine, because you hop into one and hopping out the other, and you know you've got to get your mindset right. And obviously, I'm trying to do other things outside of this. Obviously, I do have a life as well, so just bear that in mind and stop. You know, when's the Southport save continuing? It's continuing. Don't worry, I haven't got a plan yet, but just to point that out. Anyway, so we continue on from the quadruple season. I say the mini quad, as I'm going to call it. And we are still first in the Premier League. It's slightly interesting to see that Man City again have the most goals scored. Chelsea with the least conceded. We're sort of sat in the middle. Admittedly, we have played a game more than Chelsea, so let's just take, for example, that they win that game in hand there. As you can see, well, we have a game in hand on City as well, but let's just ignore it. Let's just take the top 2 here, Liverpool and Chelsea. Let's just say they win their game in hand. They're only going to be 2 points behind us, so it literally is that close at the moment. But I'm sure the surprise you're looking at the moment, the absolute big surprise package, is Aston Villa. Where the hell have they come from? Now, if you watched our FM12 series, you will know Aston Villa were dreadful. They were really poor. They got relegated in like the 2nd or 3rd season from the Premier League, and never ever really managed to retain a true proper Premier League status again. They were a very by the time we got into the 20s and the 30s and FM12, of course, they were yo-yo team. They were terrible. They would come up, they would come down, they would go up, stay there for a bit. They'd stay in the Premier League for a couple of seasons, then they'd stay in the Championship, and then they'd go down. I think they went to League One at one point, and then they were up and down, and so that was very strange. Maybe that's what holds for them in the future. I don't know, especially when you consider their current team, which I know is young, but not particularly experienced. And yeah, so they're doing quite well. They're even ahead of Manchester United at the moment. Also West Brom, but that's not too big a surprise, as they are, nearest enough, sort of 5th, 6th best. What is there? There is a media prediction. How do you get to a media prediction? Information, isn't it? 7th, yeah, that's slightly down. Bear in mind, the media predictions are always a bit down, usually. So yeah, they're about on expectations. West Ham are also the surprise package. I'm going to go through some of the managers in a moment, as there has been a slight shift. Arsenal have drifted down, and I don't know what's happened to Brighton. Well, you know what's happened to Brighton. The 3 or 4 games in hand. So let's say they win 3 games, that's 9 points. They're going to be 50, so they're going to jump up to 3rd, and that's with a game in hand on the City. So yeah, they're still in it, obviously, but the reason, of course, I don't know if I told you, the reason they have that many games in hand is, believe it or not, they won the Champions League. Yes, they did it in the first season I left them. Pep Guardiola came in and did an incredible job, and he's won the Champions League. I could not believe it. He is the specialist. I think on this now, he's won it like 6 times, which is freaking ridiculous. That's the same amount of times as AC Milan have won it in like 100-something years. That's ridiculous. And yeah, we've got the standard team. Tottenham, I don't know why Tottenham are so poor. But we'll go through some of the managers. So obviously we've got myself at Liverpool. The Chelsea manager is still Oleg Luzhny, who is very, very good actually. He's done a very good job with this Chelsea team. Man City manager is still, believe it or not, Roberto Mancini. You are getting on nearly 20 years nearly now with Mancini. That is unbelievable. The Aston Villa manager, why are they doing so well, is a guy called Elliot Chamberlain. Now, I'm not expecting you to heard of him. He's only 35, he is Welsh, and he currently, in real life, plays for 2012-2013 Exeter City. In reality, of course, that is in the game. He has gone to places such as Rotherham, so he never really got out of league. I mean, the highest he ever was the Championship, and I say champion. I mean, he never played for Leicester, did he? Clearly, so he's regular. He got into League One with Exeter, so maybe he's one for the, sort of not that great a player, but a pretty good manager. The Manchester United manager is now not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It is Johnny Heitinger, believe it or not. Yeah, I don't know where that's come from. He's only young himself. Well, young, 44. I don't know where Solskjaer's gone. He must have got sacked because of a poor season. West Brom manager is still Derek McInnes, who I believe has just become he's just become someone's manager. I don't know who, though. I saw it on Sky Sports News. I was like, hey, there's that West Brom guy. Yeah, I know he's just become a manager, and he's done, as we all know, a very, very good job. He's got some marvellous players. West Ham manager is a guy called Joe Thornton. Again, I'm not expecting you to heard of him. He is 33. Again, very young for a manager. And he is currently, he's one of the first sort of youngsters on the game, if you will. He is currently at Bury. So if you're a Bury fan, he's also ended up at Gateshead, who I was to say in League Two. Noted them a few times coming up the leagues. Arsenal manager is Antonio Conte, who I have heard of. I don't know where from, but he's the manager. Brighton is, as we all know, Pep Guardiola. The Blackburn manager is Gus Poyet. He's been there since I kicked him out of Brighton. The Southampton manager is Christophe Berra, which is an interesting one. Of course, as we all know, the vice captain is the wonderfully named Koos Roos. Millwall manager is Jonathan Douglas. Again, I'm not quite sure who that is. Name does ring a bell, though. He's currently playing for Gillingham, apparently. Although, as I say, these are as of the start of the season. As far as I know, he is not. He might, obviously, as far as I know, these people have not transferred anywhere in January. So just point that out. If they have, please say. The Cardiff manager is Neil Alexander. The Wigan manager is Luke Norris, who I don't know. 34, so obviously he must be. I knew he is currently at Eastleigh on loan in the Blue Square South. A lot of sort of semi-pro players are coming through to be very good managers. The Tottenham manager is Unai Emery, which is very interesting, as he, of course, was the Arsenal manager. For a while, actually, it was Paolo Di Canio, but he got sacked. I'd love to see Di Canio in the Premier League. I cannot wait for that day to happen, which it inevitably will happen. Instead, he's buggered off to Stoke. Imagine just the irony of Stoke and Di Canio being linked even remotely in the same sentence. Makes me laugh. So the chances of this happening, of course, are 1,000 to 1, but that makes me laugh. Hopefully they've got over the whole hoofball playing rugby thing that we all know Stoke do. Believe it or not, Brendan Rodgers is now the Nottingham Forest manager. See, I told you he's the next Nigel Clough. Sorry, Brian Clough. Not Nigel Clough, dear mate, Brian Clough. And yeah, he's actually a terrible manager on this, Brendan Rodgers. He's 55, the stats are okay, actually. The stats are pretty decent, but if we just look over his thing here, as we all know, he left Liverpool 30th of November. That's even worse than Roy Hodgson. He was then somehow, by some bizarre turn of events, becomes the England manager for a few years. Then he's the manager of West Ham, didn't do too good there. He managed Wolves, wasn't too good there. Was spent 6 months at Burnley, failed there, and now he's at Forest. I mean, what has he actually done here? Has he actually won anything? Let's just awards, anything. He won manager of the year, obviously got them promoted, so not a big thing. I mean, bear in mind, he is trying to build a team in real life to win the Champions League. I don't see that happening anytime soon, but apparently his attributes do not reflect that in the game. His old club, Swansea manager, is Frank de Boer, which is a nice appointment. The current Huddersfield manager is Dougie Freedman. And lastly, the Ipswich manager is Roy Keane, who I think, again, people have said he was previously the Ipswich manager, so that is interesting. Should we have a look at the Championship as well? A few people have been asking that. How was the Championship? We're going to go over a few of the other leagues as well. I like to do these very occasionally and just go over it. So this is like 33, game week 33, 34. Charlton, Newcastle, Sunderland, Crewe, Alexandra, Wycombe Wanderers and Peterborough. Let's have a look. Who's the Charlton manager? It is Adam McHugh. It's not the Bradford. No, that's not him, is it? No. Alan Shearer, you think they would have learned by now, is the Newcastle manager. Sunderland, we'll imagine them two in the Championship. Fabian Delph, interesting. The Crewe manager, where they've come from, is Steve Davis. Wycombe manager, Andreas Aristidou. I don't know who that is. Peterborough is Darren Ferguson, still there. He's got that lasting long. I'm not going to go over everyone. I'll just go over the top 7. And lastly, the Watford manager is Nigel Gibbs, whoever that is. Everton, don't know what's happened to them. I'm kind of disappointed in the way that they're down there because we can't have a derby. There's no derby. Who is their manager, actually? I'm interested now. Paul Johnson. never heard of. 35, Sunderland. Currently plays for, Jesus, how many? Like for 3 clubs there. Got Hartlepool. Maybe Jeff Stelling knows him. I don't know. Incidentally, if you're wondering why Leeds and Shrewsbury are blue, it's because we are affiliated with them. Just wondering. Imagine Leeds and Liverpool affiliated. When's that going to happen? Tell Billy Bremner and Kevin Keegan that, dear me. League One. Notts County, Barnsley up there. QPR have strangely fallen. And Dover are in there now. Quite a popular team for people to go, apparently. Reading have fallen all the way to League Two. So Fulham. That is terrible. Portsmouth, that's not a surprise. Southport are still there. Luton, Forest Green Rovers, Chester, Gateshead, Bolton Wanderers. What's going on? It's mad. Blue Square Bet Premier. Tranmere have fallen. Oh, dear me. Bradford, that's no surprise really, I suppose. Bishop Stortford sounds like an amateur club. Red Square North. Rotherham. Oh dear, the Chuckle Brothers won't be happy with that, will they? Preston North End. Oh dear, I'm not being funny. They were like nailed on for the Premier League a few years ago. What's happened to them now? God. And lastly, Blue Square South. No one really jumping out at me there. So yeah, that is how the leagues look currently. Let's go over the transfers. How have I muddled about then with this Liverpool team since winning the so-called quadruple? So the players out first. I've let Walter Bresky go for £14.5 million. Not being funny, to get £14 million for a player who is in his 30s is not bad. Let Kemp go on loan. I think that was a bit of a mistake, actually. As he at one point, actually he's back now. But at one point he felt he was too good to be going on loan, even though he's like 17 at the time. That was interesting. We'll let again a load more players go or freebies. I let Tochi go. Now this was interesting. I couldn't find a spot for him. Now I say a spot for him. The thing was, what Slaven Bilic did was bring in 2 world-class left backs and right backs. Sorry. Now you think that's not a bad thing? Yeah, they're both worth £30+ million. You don't usually have 2 £30+ million. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong way around. £30 million+ worth of right backs to them, and the problem is you try to rotate them, but one's inevitably going to get pissed off with you. And honestly, it was so annoying. He got pissed off in the end, and I couldn't find a spot for him in the team. And £20 million. Paul Stewart. I've basically, if you're looking down and seeing what's going on here, brought in 89 million. Also spent 106 million. Obviously, bear in mind we had a nice transfer kitty now since we've won the league and all that. Let Villaro go to West Brom for 15. Gonzalo Romero. Now this was an interesting one because he's a centre back. And he does have very pale white skin. I just noticed. God, it looks like a ghost, doesn't he? I got a really weird thing with him where it said my assistant manager, Colin Pascoe, who's going to be retiring at the end of the season, said he thinks this guy can't handle the pressure, and he put in some terrible performances, and I mean really poor. I mean game-changingly bad performances. Really not good, so I ended up getting rid of him. Just took whatever I could. 14 million, not bad. Bodin, I just brought him in really to shore up that midfield, just to add a bit more depth to that midfield. I never really had much use of him after that, so I sold him on. Managed to make a slight profit on him. He was no good for me, really. As I say, he was only a temporary solution, was Bodin. Check Tobias. Let him go to Arsenal for £14.5 million. Again, maybe not. He's not getting on by him. He's 28. Well, yeah, now so the last 2 that are on loan. Now, one thing you may know if you're looking at this team, or if you downloaded the save or whatever, or you know this team, you will notice I have completely stripped this midfield. Bresky, Stewart, Villaro, Tobias, Bodin. That is pretty much all the midfield, virtually. Obviously, a few people are still left, but I am basically going to bring in a whole new midfield because honestly, they are shit. I don't know how I managed to acquire them because some of them players really aren't good. Tobias seems to be really rated by everyone else around him. I don't particularly see it personally, but whatever. So yeah, let's have a look who I've brought in. Now everything is relative here, so just bear in mind what's going on. Mikel Ferrer I brought in. You may notice the continued bringing in of Brighton players. Now I just want to point out there's only one player that I bought in for a substantial fee, which you can read, but I'm not going to say his name until later because I like to keep the suspense if you're blind or something. Incidentally, for our blind, I feel sorry for you. That's terrible. Yeah, all of these players, with the exception of the large fees played for there, Vladislav Gordon, so I'll say his name. All of these players, and Junior for that matter as well, sorry, Junior and Gordon, were not transfer listed. The rest were Ferrer, Han Jae-yoon, and Roberto Rubio were all transfer listed by Pep Guardiola. I have no idea why, but they were transfer listed. So Ferrer, £9.5 million, managed to bring him in for £9.5 million. Considerably better player. I know Pasco rates him at 2 stars. For some reason, the scouting on this and the general sort of consensus from the likes of Pasco and my chief scout called Dave Fallows is very, very strict and very harsh. Like, you know, Ferrer was rated by Tarico and Brighton scout was like 4-star. So I don't know why it's hard. I mean, obviously, I don't know if it's because they have high standards or whatever, but yeah, that was very weird. Then we brought in Pedro, not the real one, of course. He's a regen, 24 years old, from Real Madrid. He's he just come in, so his match fitness is slightly down, but he's free. Spotted him, thought he might do a decent job. And then Han Jae-yoon. This was really weird because, as we all know, I brought him in on loan. Did I have him on loan? I think I did, didn't I? Yeah, I brought him on loan last season, and I could bring him in now in the summer. And £4.5 million, I thought that's a steal. He's very good. For some reason, no one seems to rate him other than me, and he puts in some phenomenal performances. Anton Ivankovic, the versatile right/centre-back, of course, who scored the winning goal, believe it or not. The defender scored the winning goal for us to win the league, or at least let us on to win the league last season. As you know, I had him on loan again just to shore up that back four. He only scored the 1 goal, he only made 7 appearances, but boy, was that goal big. Oh, it was big, and I brought him in for £8 million. This lad, I'm hoping, will be a proper find. This is Ruben Juarez. He's only 20, but he has already shown me in his appearances. You can see that's an average rating of 7.4 in 8 appearances. He already scored a goal, got 2 assists. He's made several appearances already. To say he looks like a big signing. He looked quality. Then we have a Japanese player. We don't see too many of these, but this is from a hero, Shiba Miura. He's only 1.5 star. He's just an option, really. He's just a rotation option. 3.2 million, not a whole lot. Bought something from Hiroshima. And no, I did not just bring him in because he's from Hiroshima. He's actually a decent left-back option. Left-backs are quite hard to come by on this because the database is so small. Roberto Rubio, transfer listed. Why? I don't know. He's only 25. I think he's a quality player. He is very, very good. Don't let the report fool you. He is much better than that, as we all know. Keno from Cardiff, £12 million, Portuguese, looks a little bit like Barry Wallace. Unfortunately, he doesn't play like him. If you look here, I made the mistake. I mean, as you can see, he didn't play at all for Cardiff last season, but that season, as you can see, 23 goals. I think I may have made the mistake signing him, as he is not actually that great, but 5 goals so far, decent option, probably overspent a little bit on him. Speaking of overspending, Vlad Gordon. Yes, I brought him back. I thought, sod it, I need to complete this midfield. How much do you want for him? And they said 27 million. I said, fine. Here he is. He's 23. He's one of the best prospects I've seen in midfield for a long time. He is very, very good. He's taken over from Steven Gerrard's number 8 shirt. And he, let me tell you, is the real deal. He is quality, as we all know. Now, Percy Alega. January transfer signing. Peruvian. Centre midfielder. Again, I needed to shore up that centre mid. I didn't really have the options. £14 million. Looks a decent signing. Asia Pereira, £5 million from Spain. Again, with a bald shaven head, a lot of balds, and apparently bald is the is the fashion in the future. Yeah, decent option again. It's sort of left centre, sort of Yaya Torres type thing. Obviously, that's the regen, not the real player. And finally, Junior, otherwise known, of course, as my son. See, Chris Jubb, obviously I'm not calling him Jubb because that is a totally ridiculous name and only idiots take it, the name Jubb. So, yeah, I bought him. Why? Again, I needed to shore up that midfield. He's 4-star potential. Let me point that out, of course, on a very harsh, very strict report that really does rank certain players who are actually really good quite low. And I paid, again, £12 million for him. So I bought in all this money, you know, on top of the transfer kitty that I was given, and I knew I could spend it, so I went for it, and it brought me some back. unfortunately, as you know, I don't actually look like that. I don't have it actually. Although it's got one thing: the receding hairline. That is one thing. It has got right. Anyway, let's go on to the fixtures then. That is the meat and drink of this. So let's do it. So we played in the Community Shield first, and we won it against Chelsea on penalties. Pepe Hernandez with another goal. He is unbelievable. I'm not going to show you the shootout, but Tage Egerton Hernandez, or Egerton, I think is how you pronounce it, Hernandez, Fabio Wallace missed, and so did Pedro. Not the best introduction from him. Josh Johnson. Well, I regret giving him another contract. Is against Stoke then. So the first game of the season was against Stoke. Josh Johnson, well, I say that, he put in a crap performance in the Community Shield, but he scored a hat-trick on the first game. Not bad, eh? 3-1 against Stoke. Not bad at all. Also played Jimmy Crowder, who is a... or Crowder, I'm not sure if it's Crowder or Crowder. 4-star potential. He came through the reserve, youth ranks. Decent player. From Rochdale, incidentally. He's not a Scouser, so careful. Don't worry, he won't rob your hubcaps. 2-1 against Chelsea. Barry Wallace with a double against Chelsea at Zola Arena. I'm still not going to be able to get used to saying that. 90th minute penalty. I'll show you this then. Yep, 90th minute penalty. Imagine that at Stamford Bridge. Well, to be fair, Glenn Johnson, that goal against, that is still one of the best. that was such an awesome goal from Glenn Johnson against Chelsea. I know Chelsea fans aren't going to like me for saying that, but you've got to admit that was some goal though from Glenn Johnson at Stamford Bridge. I think it was last season. Yes, but this is how it started. Paul McDonald, of course, was a former Liverpool player. They had him on loan when I was at Brighton, of course. He did really, really well as a kid, and he brought him in. Chelsea eventually bought him. So 17th minute, I'm thinking here, I've got to push everyone forward. You know, we were still in this game, and Barry Wallace, well, it is just a moment of genius from this absolutely wonderful player. Pedro crosses, and there's the header. He does have a tendency to sort of mess up his headers, Wallace. He has missed so many goals, just like almost point blank. And bang, 90th minute. Imagine, I was going crazy at that point. 90th minute penalty from Wallace, but he does have this tendency to miss really easy goals. I think like a lot of like hysterically good players, they do tend to miss the fair share of sitters. And his headers though in particular, like someone will cross it and you think, and like as soon as that's about to meet his head, Amaro Diop and Amaro Diop out and see going, yeah, oh, and he's missed. And it's like, how's he missed from there? Or his headers will go skew whiff a bit, and it's like, well, I don't, why, how and why have you done this? And then we played Brighton, so there's your undeniable proof that they did win the Champions League. Played a slightly weaker team here because, quite honestly, I hate the Europa Super Cup. I don't see the point of it. Nugent got himself sent off stupidly. Look at that, 45 plus 4, unbelievable. Wellington put them in front. Obviously, the Brazilian wonder kid I've talked about many times before. But Pedro equalised with a penalty. Now, we were really down to 10. We were up against a very weak team. You know, playing Koulibaly, who's getting on a bit now. Don Goody, Lacey, Sheba Mura didn't have the best. I mean, obviously, he's only a rotation option. Probably going to play him against the slightly weaker teams. Han Jae-yoon, Romero, who had a shocker, as you'll be able to continue to see. King, not that great in goal, but he's, as I say, he's the rotation keeper. So I had to give Godoy a rest. Then Mateo Bregi scored to put them back in front. Then Barry Wallace just came from nowhere, 89th minute, to put us level again. I thought maybe we've got a chance here, and then we just fell apart. Kenny Nowakowski Antiguino, who got his goal against us, as he always does. So yeah, it was 2-2 and then 5-2. So it's a slightly misleading scoreline. We didn't just roll over, but when it got to extra time, they just overpowered us in the end. Brighton. So that's my first loss, I think, to Brighton. So a bit of a shame, but we bounced back very nicely. As obviously, you know, we had to play. So then again, there's a huge gap. Actually, there's a huge gap from us playing City. So we bounced back very nicely. Pedro scoring goals, Wallace and Torre with a victory at Anfield over them. So this is my Champions League group. Very difficult group, actually. We've got Spartak Moscow, Liverpool qualifying, Sporting Portugal, and Sevilla not qualifying. We've started off in Spain and drew 1-1 with Sevilla. Not the most hardest game in the world, but nevertheless tricky. Sevilla looked pretty decent on this, and we got a half-decent point. So, and then we took Sporting Portugal, Sporting Lisbon to Anfield. Villaro, Torre, Wallace. Obviously, Villaro left in January, of course, with the goals to beat them 4-0. We lost in Russia. This Zimmerman Cuevas, I assume, sort of Canadian, Mexican. I've got to. I want to know about this guy because Zimmerman. Let's see, Spanish. No, that's Mexican. Zimmerman is like a North American name. Well, then again, Mexico is in a North America, isn't it? No, it's North American because, of course, that is the surname of a certain deadmau5, who I'm a big fan of course. Torre and Kino with the goal. I think that was his first goal, actually, Kino. So fair play to him there, but Zimmerman. Actually, I wanted to nickname him deadmau5, but I couldn't because it just takes away the awesomeness of that name, which it is an amazingly good double barrel name. Difficult to say. And then, believe it or not, we lost again 3-2 in Russia. I couldn't believe it. Zimmerman Cuevas, that sort of fucking guy again, scoring. So that was difficult, and that's why we came second here and struggled a bit. But we bounced back very nicely with a 5-1 victory over Sevilla, and then beating Sporting Lisbon. I think that was a weakish team, 1-0. Jude Nugent with the goal. Then we lost 3-2 to Arsenal at the Emirates. Rubio and Hernandez scoring. Fabio having a bit of a shocker, so did Tage. And this was a good game. I remember this one actually. This was a decent game. But Hristov is so good. He is a very, very good player, this lad. £20 million, Bulgarian. Look at them stats. He's always at the top, or near the top of the goal scoring charts. So the defence slightly letting us down there. And then probably one of the most humbling things I've had, while certainly at Liverpool, possibly on FM13, losing to Lincoln City, who of course are in the Championship, but going out on pens. This was dreadful, really, really poor. Kino with the 2 goals. 73rd minute, I'm like, game, set, and match, over. I'm off for a drink. I will come back in a minute. So I came back, and it's 2-2, and I didn't really do that, but they just fought back and took us all the way to penalties, and the bastards won. I could not believe it. I don't know where this came from. No one was particularly bad. They just had more spirit than us in the end of the day. That Tom Andre scored there, as you can see, and that gave them the confidence to go on and actually win the frigging game. So fair play to them. So we're not going to retain the Capital One Cup, which is a bit of a shame. Crap 0-0 against West Brom. I thought Kino might start, push the feeling on now a bit, and maybe do quite well, but no, rating is 6, not very good. Then we beat Brighton 3-1 at Anfield. Ferrer obviously scoring 2 against his former club. That was always going to happen, wasn't it? And Barry Wallace chipping in with his goal, as he always does. Then 2 3-2 losses. As you know, we lost to Spartak 3-2, but also Blackburn. Ruben Juarez coming on, and I think that may have been his debut. I'm not sure. I'll just show you this. I'll just show you Juarez's goal. I think it was his debut. This Lennart Andersson tore us apart. Utterly tore us apart. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Juarez. Anderson's terrible header, and I think that, as I say, was his debut, so fair play to him for that. Might be wrong. But a terrible game. I say that Johansson was unbelievable. 4-0 though against Ipswich. Roberto Rubio scoring a hat-trick, and Yaya Torre also chipping in, and another 4-0 victory over Forest, with 2 for Wallace, 1 Hernandez, and 1 Glukov. And then we continue to score 4 as we also beat Millwall 4-1. Wallace this time with a hat-trick, and Gonzalo Romero chipping in. 1-0 against West Ham at Upton Park, or I suppose at this point now, as we all know, it's going to be the Olympic Stadium, apparently, with Mikel Ferrer scoring. And again, a 1-0 victory over Huddersfield. Kino scoring this time. So you get to see at this point, obviously a fair amount of losses. So, I don't know whether teams have got us sorted at this point. But as you can see, we went on then and didn't lose for quite some time. So that was pretty decent. 3-2 against Southampton. Bunyak, Torre and Wallace with the goals. Let's have a look at this. I'm not sure if this was 90th minute thing or not. I know it was Bunyak. 83rd. Did enough? No, but Jürgen Vogel nearly pulled it back. Let's see, who can we pick on here? No one. Wallace was nearly dead at that point, as you can see. 2-0 against Tottenham, to say a slightly weaker Tottenham team that we all know of, really. I don't know what's happened to them, but Sullivan Koulibaly, aging Koulibaly now with 2. Man United 2-2 at Old Trafford, not the worst result in the world. Wallace and Ferrer, so as you can see, obviously he only may be rated 2 stars by our scouts, but he saved us a point. This the goal scorer there for Man United, incidentally, Carl Skubala, let's go with that. Very good player, very, very dangerous player. But it is fair at 93rd minute. Oh, you cheeky bastard, to do that, just the way he's squeezing it. Didn't necessarily power it in, but that was some finish. And again, Romero letting me down quite badly. 5.6, not a particularly good rating. And then another Premier League draw as we went to Villa, but as I say, they are doing pretty decently at the moment. Is that even a word, decently? Yeah, it is. A point not bad, I guess. Barry Wallace has a bit of one of his off days, rarity. There's Valero Lombardi, you remember him? 5.9, terrible. And yeah, I weren't too disappointed. Usually I would be against Villa, but they, as I say, are doing rather well. And they were in like they were challenging for the title at that point. They were really like, you know, top 3, doing very well. They've fallen away since then, but they're doing pretty well still. Yusuf Tage and Bunjak with a 2-0 victory over Wigan. 2-1 over Swansea. Fabio and Barry Wallace off the bench. Let me just see, make sure this wasn't a late one. Yeah, as you can see, the referee was fairly harsh. Sending off 4 bookings, 2 for us, and an injury there. But yeah, Wallace had to come off the bench, put him on at half time, and he did the job. And then we went a little bit loose here as we lost 2-1 to Cardiff. Thought Keano might turn it on and do well, but Henry Egerton, not very good at all. Nugent, not very good at all. And we lost. Even worse, we lost to Exeter City. Oh dear, in the FA Cup third round. Not a particularly good performance this year in the Cups, is it? You know, Hanjay Una and Ruben Juarez doing really well, but Johnson, Jocelyn, Lacey, Keano, Wallace, Nugent all let me down there. I thought maybe I'd bring them on. Went to St James Park, which I have been to actually. I didn't see a game or anything, but I have been there. Or been past, well, yeah, I'll admit, I've been past it. Yeah, it was terrible. Let's gloss over that one. 1-1 against Stoke. Torre with the goal. Now we finally went on a bit of a run against some very tricky opposition. 5-0 against Forest, Ferrer with 2. Johnson, Wallace and Torre. Chelsea 4-1. Wallace with a hat-trick. It's different, really. It is a difference, isn't he? 2-1 against Arsenal, a bit of revenge. Wallace now really getting into his stride, and Johnson with the goals. And once again, Wallace scoring for something like, not being funny, it's like the fourth game in a row against West Brom. City, no, it's not him this time. It's not going to be 5 in a row. It is Mikel Ferrer salvaging us a point there against City. So there you go. That is how everything looks then in February 2028. The Celtic Save the Sea will be continuing. I just need to start making videos for that. As I say, so I do apologise for my illness. I'll show you the stats as well, just to see where everyone is at the moment. Neil Jadil still going really well. Paul McDonnell up there at 20. El Lopez, who, as I mentioned before, has a very odd name, but nevertheless, he is very, very good. Believe it or not, look who he used to play for. What happened here? Why did they sell him on? Why? He's doing decent. He was doing a decent job. There's no real reason to sell him. Look. He scored 38 goals, man. Why did they sell him? What's going on there? Hey? What? Whoa, I just never even noticed that. What? Why has he done that? What a stupid swonk. Oh, you absolute moron. Rough. Now, Slaven Bilic really tried hard, didn't he? God, to ruin this club. Grichich with goals up there as well. So too, this guy is probably the reason why West Ham are doing so well. There's Tom. Really is going in the right direction now. Look at that. He's doing very well. Attalay as ever up there. But I think one of the reasons, of course, our defence is so good, if you look here, our 2 main defenders of Pepe Hernandez and Vadim Lukov all up there, top 6 in the average ratings column. Very, very good indeed. So that will do it for me. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you then with a season review. And trust me, I know what happens. It is not a season review you want to miss. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.